you ready for this?
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostmourne, hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 43rd episode of the Nexus Trolls, a podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, part of the Trolls GG Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Linus Dad Kilius. I did it again. Linus Dad Kilius. Linus Daz Kilius. I should say Daz. I don't even. Why do I even bother telling people my real name? It's not like anyone remembers that, anyways. And I'm like, do you guys even like? If it wasn't for this, would you even know my real name? Probably not. No. Anyways, I'm joined today by Liquid and Mystic. Hey, gents. So we seem to have an extraordinarily packed show. I mean, it was busy, and then it got a lot busier after Blizzard decided to drop another big patch on us, not to mention all the Gamescom stuff, KT, not Kael'thas, but Kel'Thuzad popping in there with that reveal. We've got a whole bunch of changes, characters that are incoming, not to mention the ones that we just got on today's patch. And then, of course, I mean, at least we got a little bit of lighter of an esports week. I guess that's a little bit of a reprieve there. Just a note.
Say lighter esports week.
Yeah. And I mean, we're going to do the esports corner, but Liquid said that, there's probably not enough content. So Troll and HGC will not be going on this week if you're going to be waiting around for that. So there won't be Troll and HGC tonight, which might be good because this show might go 3 hours. I really hope not. But given how much stuff we have, you never know what might happen. Also, I want to say that after the show's done, and I struggled with whether or not we should cover this, but I figured we'll do it right at the end, just before the credits. So if you are the kind of person that doesn't like spoilers, you can just kind of skip this part. We're going to go over the leaked hero list, because we're pretty sure we know who the next 4 or 5 heroes are going to be, based on a leak list, which seems to be pretty reliable. It's predicted the last 3 heroes. So we're going to cover that at the end of the show, but we understand that's not for everybody.
Spoiler. It makes me sad because the ones I want are on the list.
But you know what? They'll come eventually, I'm sure. If this game's around long enough, pretty much every hero is going to be in the game that you're wanting. We'll have to talk to you about which ones specifically you want there too, Liquid. But we're going to try and cut down on the pre-show banter because we just have so much stuff to cover. That's my way of cutting you off short, Liquid. But we do want to thank our patrons, and we do have a new patron this week, Fringe Averaged. Thank you, Fringe, for supporting the show. And if you're looking for a way to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/trollsgg. Now, Fringe is also a friend of ours, and he is also our Troll of the Week this week. If you haven't heard the name Fringe Average before, or maybe you have, it might ring a bell. That's because he's the host of the Gankbush Squad, a very explicit podcast on Heroes of the Storm that I personally listen to every week, and is extraordinarily entertaining. So definitely give Fringe's show a check if you haven't before. Gankbush Squad, I'm sure you can Google it. It's available on iTunes, Google, Stitcher. They've actually recently started streaming on Twitch as well, I think on Friday evenings, I think 4 p.m. Pacific, maybe 7 p.m. Eastern, around then anyways. I'm sure I'm probably wrong on that, but I'm sure you can check out their Twitter and everything and figure it out there as well. But yeah, Fringe, you've been a good friend of the show, and thank you for supporting us, and you are officially our Troll of the Week, sir. I'm not even going to bother playing the news bumper because most of the news is going to be covered in specific segments that we're going to be doing about each news item. The one thing I did want to say, though, is that next week we've got some special guests coming on the show. And I've been talking to these guys probably for a couple months trying to set this up, and I'm glad our schedules have finally aligned. Kristen and Jeff from Heroes Forge podcast are going to be coming on here. And the Heroes Forge is another podcast I listen to regularly, and it's different than your typical podcast. What Heroes Forge does, and actually one of our debate punishments was fashioned after them. They take characters not in the game, and they develop kits and everything for them. And they discuss them on their show. They're extraordinarily high energy people, and I hope we can keep up with them. But either way, we're really excited to have them on our show next week. I'm looking forward to that.
If memory serves, wasn't that you losing to me and you made me a character?
Yes, I made a character fashioned after our good friend Liquid here. I can't remember what episode that was. It was probably about 20 episodes ago, give or take. But I'm sure you can find it if you search through our archives. But still, that was inspired by Heroes Forge, and they've got a great bit they do. And like I said, their energy is infectious, and hopefully it'll be infecting us next week. So definitely tune in next week for some Heroes Forge, Kristen and Jeff action on our show. So Liquid, you know what that makes it time for?
I do.
Esports Corner.
Hey yo, how you doing? It's time for Liquid's Esports Corner. That's right. You're gonna want to stick around for this.
So take away, Liquid.
All right, so only a couple things to go over, and most of them are actually amateur scene things, just because there's no HGC going right now. It's coming back on Friday, actually, which has got me super hyped. So, Hold It Down has been a Open Division staple since pretty much Crowan left Gale Force Esports, and they were actually this week sponsored by Heroes Hearth. They literally dropped the news as the Open Division bracket went live this week, and then they promptly won their 4th cup in a row, making them the most winning team in NA Open Division. Just to remind everybody that roster, they have Arthalon, BBJ, Ishbu, Crowan, and McIntyre all playing on one team, and they actually look pretty solid. I look forward to seeing them go through the playoffs and into the Crucible and see what they can do there. Also, something else cool happening this week. Trent Esports, the Bags and I follow this guy religiously, writes some really good articles about HGC and other esports related things. Has actually inked a deal with Roll20 and is releasing this week an article a day that is an interview with each of the Roll20 players on his website. So those are really cool. Check those out too. That's over at trentesports.blogspot.com. But something else, Heroes Hype Tempo Storm Season 3 series is about to start. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that to get started. Tonight, Heroes Hype Amateur Series is running tonight, and then they jump into Tempo Storm Season 3, which is going to be crazy. So that's always fun to watch. And then Master League Season 4 starts Friday. So go over to Master League, get your picks in for the games this weekend. I finished top 100 last season. I'm looking to finish top 50 this season if I can pull it off. And that basically the season runs the part of the phase. So like phase 2, part 2, which is going to be now until BlizzCon, is going to be Master League Season 4. And the boys over at Hotslog sponsored this season. So definitely go check that out, masterleague.net. Plus they have tons of data out there, so check that out too. But tweet dropped just before the show started. This week, which is phase 2, part 2, week 1. That's a mouthful and a half, right? That's going to be played on the Garage patch that was released just about 2 weeks ago, and our Overlord Garage will be available. So we should see some Gary games this week. I expect to see it in Korea. I'm not sure about EU and NA. Korea just because they like to do some crazy stuff, but we'll see how that goes. And then next week, we'll be on the balance patch that dropped today that we're going to go over in, like 20-ish minutes or so. Depends how long it takes to get through KT, because Kalthas is no longer KT. Finally, the last thing I want to point out to everybody, there are 2 games that I'm picking this week that are like must-watch games that are going to be really, really good in HGC. I mean, watch them all if you're crazy like I am. But if not, and you want to just streamline your watching, definitely check out, both games are on Saturday. Noon Eastern, Dignitas is playing Fnatic. That game is going to be insanely good. Like, you have to watch. That is the best EU game you're going to ever see. The only way it gets better is if those 2 teams are playing for, like, must-win to get to BlizzCon. That's the only way that game gets better. And then also Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we have Roll20 playing Tempo Storm in the NA. So check those 2 games out. They should be great games this week. So, yeah, you're right. It was a quick esports week only because the HGC is not actually happening right now. But
still,
yeah.
A little bit of news for the future, and I guess the whole sponsorship bit thing too is pretty important to cover, right?
I gotta say, when I started this game, and people are like, "Oh, just pick KT," I went into the Heroes roster looking for Kel'Thuzad. I'm like, I don't see KT in here. Oh, Kael'thas is also
right?
KT.
But Kel'Thuzad always felt like he is the KT, right? Kael'thas never really was. So it's kind of, it feels like they've come home.
Blizzard had an official response. They call Kael'thas
Yes.
Kale internally,
Yes.
and Kel'Thuzad KT. So if you want an official word from Blizzard on the proper nomenclature, vernacular, I guess, KT is officially Kel'Thuzad. So I think it's gonna be hard for me to break the habit because I never played much WoW and dealt with Kel'Thuzad there. I only dealt with them in Warcraft 3. So having the KT and knowing that's the short for Kel'Thuzad, that's gonna be confusing for a while. I'm gonna have to get used to it.
And that definitely explains your question about who exactly is Mr. Bigglesworth.
Yes, which and I had to ask Liquid Mystic because I was like, is this some sort of like a meme thing or is this actually in WoW? And apparently, little did I realize it's actually a WoW thing. The Bigglesworth I know is from Austin Powers. I'm sure that's probably where they got him from.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why we titled this show, When Mr. Bigglesworth Gets Angry, People Die. Well, I left out the last part, but anyways, when Mr. Bigglesworth gets angry. I've looked at some Bigglesworth stuff since then to get up on my Bigglesworth lore. But anyways, I guess it's a good segue, because Kel'Thuzad, KT, did get revealed at Gamescom this week. And one of the best takeaway I got from it is that Kel'Thuzad, when he does his little dance animation, he brings out little Mr. Bigglesworth. That solidified for me. I wasn't sure if you guys were messing with me, but as soon as I saw Mr. Bigglesworth in the dance animation, I was like, okay, he's definitely a thing. But Kel'Thuzad is, from Warcraft 3 as well as World of Warcraft, the Lich King, Arthas's, I guess, chief advisor, undead Lich. He's going to be in the Nexus in a couple weeks. Next week on the PTR, from what I understand, then 2 weeks live. But still, we got some viewing of his gameplay from Gamescom. We've got his abilities and talents all mapped out for us. We're going to go over his abilities this week. His talents we're probably going to go over next week, maybe a couple weeks from now, depending on how things shake out with the PTR. Just because we don't have any actual playtime with him, might be a couple weeks before we do that. Maybe we'll wait till it goes live. But just so everyone has an idea of what the new KT does, he's got several abilities. First of which is Death and Decay on his Q. By the way, Kel'Thuzad, a lot of people can kind of been comparing him a little bit to Chromie in some ways. He's kind of like a Chromie Jaina hybrid almost, it feels like sometimes, with a little bit of Kael'thas mixed in there. He's definitely a mage though, but a lot of his abilities have a significant wind up to them. Not as long as Chromie's, but still fairly significant. His Q is Death and Decay. It's a straight line skill shot. What would you guys compare that to in terms of like length and width? I'm thinking like Jaina's Frost Shard, but maybe a little bit wider, a little bit easier to hit. Probably about the same length though.
Yeah, that's probably pretty close. With having not played it yet, that's probably pretty close.
The skill shot, is about Jaina Q hitbox.
Yeah, so it's on a 6-second cooldown, so it's pretty spammable, only 20 mana. After half a second, you launch an orb that explodes upon hitting an enemy. So once it hits something, it explodes, dealing 150 damage to enemies in the area. This explosion leaves behind a pool of decay the last 2 seconds, dealing 70 damage every half second to enemies. So it leaves a little bit of a trail behind it. Frost Nova is his W. It's 45 mana, a little bit more mana intensive. 10-second cooldown though. This creates a Nova that explodes after 1 second, dealing 212 damage to enemies inside, slowing them by 35% for 2.5 seconds. Enemy in the center are rooted for 1 second. I don't know if they're rooted and slowed once the root ends because the slow duration's longer. But anyways, it's about the same size as probably like a Brightwing Q, maybe a Malfurion root. The center of it is about half the size of the circle is where you get the root. Outside of that, you get the slow. So there's kind of like 2 zones, fairly similar to Jaina's Ring of Frost too, where there's a different effect depending on where in the zone you are. Chains of Kel'Thuzad is probably really one of his coolest abilities, at least I think. It's his E. It's on a 12-second cooldown, 45 mana. So you launch a chain. You shoot a chain at an enemy, and it deals 75 damage to the first enemy hero or structure hit. Or structure hit, because it affects structures too. So after it hits it, this chain will spiral around for 4 seconds. And during those 4 seconds, you can cast it again. It'll cast actually originating from the first target you hit. And it'll shoot the chain off to a secondary target. If it hits somebody, it'll pull them both together, assuming they're both heroes. If it's a structure, it'll just pull towards the structure. And it'll do a quick little stun for half a second. But it's got a fairly significant pullback. It's almost like a mini Stitches hook. And it's what really gives Kel'Thuzad his flavor.
It is the best skill I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's something I guess it's kind of rare in a lot of mages is displacement abilities like that too. So you can pull them closer and you can set up a lot of combos. And Mystic was talking about Kel'Thuzad's Wombo combo. It sounds like it might be difficult to pull off, but Mystic said, it's easy. So we'll see. We'll have to see once we talk about that in our insight bit.
The mechanically gifted players of the world are going to be able to do crazy things with KT.
The problem with KT is, and I was watching Palytime go over some of the stuff, there's so many delays that you've got to really get the timing down. And that can be the trouble, because there's a half-second delay on Death and Decay, there's 1 second delay on Frost Nova, and then the chaining bit, you got to shoot at a target and you shoot it again to get the stun, so it's kind of like a comboing thing. You got to time all that together. But we haven't talked about his trait yet, too. His trait is called Master of the Cold Dark. And this can get pretty insane, dude. I'm not sure if you're listening to the damage numbers I was talking about. Well, those damage numbers can get augmented by his baseline quest that he gets. So he gains 1 blight every time a hero is rooted by Frost Nova or hit by Chains of Kel'Thuzad. And after gaining 15 blight, so hitting 15 heroes with that stuff, the cooldown of all basic abilities are reduced by 2 seconds. So that makes your Q, by the way, down to 4 seconds, which is fairly short cooldown there. So that's really spammable at that point. And then after gaining 30 blight, you got 75 freaking spell armor on top of everything else you got. So talk about, I guess, a later game here. I'm not sure how long it's going to take you to get 30 blight, but this isn't reset on death or anything like that too. So this is significantly important to his kit, getting that 30 blight, basically almost doubling his spell damage right off the bat. He's got 2 heroics, like most others. Frost Blast, which, just bear with me because it doesn't sound that great, but when you see it in practice, it looks pretty freaking
great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you launch a meteor, I like that they call it a meteor of ice, at an enemy hero. And it's very similar to like Pyroblast, that slow moving, like.
It moves the same way.
I think it's even like, it sounds similar too. Upon impact, the meteor deals 100 damage to its target and 275 damage to enemies in the area. So it's not like big damage, but it also roots everybody for 1.5 seconds. And this is a huge area. We're talking like ETC's stage dive type size, maybe even a little bit bigger. But still, it roots everyone in that area. That's a pretty big zone control there too. And that impending doom is always a fun little mechanic to have to deal with too. It's on 100-second cooldown though, so you can't use that too often. If you want more spammy ultimate, you're looking at Shadow Fissure. 50 mana, 15-second cooldown. Again, we're talking about another ability with a delay, but this is, if you're talking combo, this is the one you're going for. Creates a fissure anywhere in the battleground that explodes after 1.5 seconds. Now I say fissure, and when I saw it first, I thought like, I was thinking like Thrall Sundering type thing, but it's not. Go ahead, Liquid.
It looks just like an APOC.
He does. And it's probably similar size too. It puts a circle on the ground, and after 1.5 seconds, it explodes for a large amount of damage in the air in that area. But it does take 1.5 seconds, so it's tough to hit. But if you've got someone rooted, if you've got someone chained, it might not be so tough after all. So it's a good combo potential there. You talk about setting up a Wombo combo. This is a nice little finisher for that. 15-second cooldown. Plus, his level 20, if you hit someone with this, it instantly resets. So you can use it again and again. So you got like a little mosh pit going. You could probably use it 2 or 3 times in a mosh pit. Okay. So we're not going to go over the talent list today. We got a link to it in the show notes, though, if you want to check it out. So anything interesting you guys think about Kel'Thuzad before Kel'Thuzad before I go over some things that I noted, Mystic? What do you think about the stuff that you've seen so far?
Well, I feel like he is a really good control mage just because he has a lot of zoning potential with his Frost Nova. Death and Decay puts down a zone. The chains also have a lot of CC on it, and then Frost Blast. Something to note about Frost Blast is like, while it does less damage and then it does in the AoE CC, Kael'thas has to channel his Pyroblast. This one you don't have to channel it. Like, it comes together a lot quicker than Pyroblast, so there's not as much, hey, this guy's channeling and then it's coming at me. No, it's like you press it and then it's coming at you, even if it is kind of slow. Shadow Fissure is pretty good, and it's got quite the insane cooldown, which is 15 seconds, which I think is really good.
So we're talking about combos. There's another little piece to this we didn't talk about yet, because there is an activatable talent that you can pop into this kind of combo chain. Glacial Spike I can't remember for the life of me which talent tier it's on. I think it's 7, but I could be wrong. It might be 13. It's a 30-second cooldown activatable ability. It creates a spike on the ground, like a little, like almost like a little glacier. I guess that's why it's called Glacial Spike. And it explodes after 4 seconds, dealing some damage. One of the really cool things about it too is you can use it as a target for your chains. So you can chain to it, and then you can chain to somebody else. You know, if you don't have any other chain targets, you can create your secondary one on demand too. You can pull someone to it. It explodes after 4 seconds if you time it properly. Pull them in, hit up all your combos. Do you want to talk to us about the combo mystic here? Like, how do you combo all these abilities? Like, where would you start? Like, you know, it's not like Kerrigan, like, okay, QW, like, you know, the cycle for that, right? What's the cycle here, would you say?
If you don't have any talents, like level 1, you have no talents, the combo would probably be just like Frost Nova to root them and then chain them, or vice versa, and then hit them with Death and Decay. So then that you get most of the value of the Death and Decay before they move out of it. Once you have most of your talents, I believe it's Frost Nova or the talent that you were mentioning that puts up a structure that you can chain to. Either one of those is your opener. And then after that, you use the other one, and then you put down the Shade. It's a talent that Kel'Thuzad gets at level 20, which puts on a Shade that fires off a Q. It's kind of like Chromie Sand clone. So you use that right after your CC lands, and then you fire down your Shadow Fissure, and then that does a lot of burst damage.
And that's a dead Cho'Gall. It's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It's a lot of damage. You can delete most heroes, I think, just with that combo. There's also another interesting talent, too. Phylactery of Kel'Thuzad. From what I understand, for you WoW players out there, the Phylactery was a pretty important thing in the raid, I believe. Correct, Liquid?
In every, like, thing in that expansion, yes.
Yes. So what it does in this game, which is probably fairly similar, but after you, well, fairly similar in some ways, I guess. You don't collect regen globes to get this. But after collecting 10 regen globes, you charge your Phylactery. And then when you're dead, you can activate it to get an instant respawn. Very similar to, who's got this? Is it Ariel? No. Malthael.
Malthael
has got this. But
yeah, but not nearly as punishing as Malthael's.
And the Malthael one's a bit of a trap because then it makes your next death timer longer. This one just means you got to recharge your Phylactery again by grabbing 10 more regen globes. But also a little kicker for this too is once it's charged, and to me I'm like, you can weigh the pros and cons here. Maybe you don't want to use it every time, because you passively get 10% healing from all your spell damage while your Phylactery is charged too, which is a pretty nice little healing ability there, considering, you know, you can combo, you do that combo we were talking about a second ago. You're probably healing yourself, you know, fairly significantly. I mean, it's only 10%, but still, you're gonna be throwing out quite a bit of random damage here and there, right? You catch a couple people now, you might heal yourself almost up half the way.
Right. You know what I my biggest thing with KT, a truly gifted mechanical player, like KT in the hands of Rich, people will die. Like, I'm sorry, like people will die. Like a mechanically gifted player will be able to do all sorts of crazy things with his kit the way it stands right now.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, okay, you chain them to the Glacial Spike, but I feel like if you're super high skill cap, you chain one guy, then chain them to the next, you pull them together, and you'd combo them in between the spot that you expect them to land, right? Which is extraordinarily high skill cap and beyond, like, my comprehension of, like, being able to pull that kind of thing off. But hey, maybe that's something that we can see Mystic do in some Aftershow games.
Yeah, maybe.
So what kind of role, like, how do we figure that KT's going to fit into the existing mages? Is he going to be similar to, like, a Chromie, like, getting out the burst damage? He's got a lot of CC too, kind of maybe like a little bit like Kill. Is he just a mixture of all the ones we currently have, or does he have a new role that he's going to be filling?
I believe that he is a mixture of just, he has wave clear, that's always good. And then he has CC, which is also always good. And then his skills do quite a bit of damage as well, so that's always good. The only thing that he doesn't have is, like, super long range poke. He has everything else. Well, I guess he doesn't have mobility either, but that's most mages don't usually have that much mobility.
He can actually spec into mobility. I think it's at level 20.
Yeah.
Though maybe he's got this kind of like little charge, almost like an Alarak, like mini Alarak charge. It's on a 240-second cooldown though, but it does reset if you participate in a takedown. But anyways, go ahead, Ludwig.
Here's the interesting thing. So a show ago, maybe 2 shows ago, I think a couple of times now, I've put forward that at some point we're going to see a true tank is no longer a requirement, and a bruiser will help fill that role, right? In a double bruiser type situation. This gets us closer to that point because now you have the CC available on an assassin who can, from a decent range, like imagine the spike in 2 chains, and suddenly the 2 people chasing you can't chase you any longer, right? Like this brings us closer to that possibility.
You know, I was actually about to say that is it because KT blows up everybody, no matter who it is, including tanks? Everybody is equal when they're all dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that too. The opportunity for self peel that he could potentially provide with the chain, right? He drops his glacial spike, say, like as he's retreating, then he just hooks it to the other hero that's chasing him, and that pulls them back, significantly far enough, hopefully to get him out of any sort of chase range, right?
Well, and at that point, either you get out of chase range, or you're like, you know what? Screw it. You turn around and you drop all your skills on him and you blow him up, right?
Guess
like,
so.
You almost don't need tank saving you at that point because you're like, nah, that's not to say there will never be a situation for it, but
yeah,
like this brings the possibility of that happening much closer.
I'm assuming he's fairly squishy and he'll probably require, generally speaking, peels when people are engaging on him. So I don't know if necessarily the role of the tank is going to be obliterated anytime soon. And I think, like we mentioned before too, Blizzard will step in before if they see that kind of trend happening. Like they actually stepped in a little bit to try and get rid of the double support meta with some of the changes that we had actually today as well.
I mean, that's the hope, right? But
Mr. Bigglesworth is part of the dance. That's the most important part. And the first thing I'm going to do as soon as I get my Kel'Thuzad out of the shop. Yeah. It's going to be a problem for a while getting those two not mixed up. And the annoying thing is they're both mages too. So they fill similar roles. So, even in context, if you say KT, you might confuse a few people. Okay, let's move on to the patch notes. Hey, we're actually doing pretty well for time, I think, so far. I shouldn't have said it, I just jinxed it. Anyways, patch notes. We had patch notes drop today. I was like frantically typing these in before the show started because, I got my 9-to-5 job and this starts fairly shortly after my 9-to-5 job. So just trying to get everything in here. We had quite a few heroes that got some minor tweaks, nothing huge, but there are some sizable nerfs in here as well. So we're just going to start with the way they got them in the patch notes, and we've got a link to it in the show notes, with Alarak. So they were just buffing some of his left or picked talents, it seemed here. Level 4, negatively charged, increased the stacking damage bonus of heroes hit by the Center of Lightning Surge from 3 to 5%. And level 13, Blade of the High Lord, bonus sadism from auto-attacking heroes has been increased from 6 to 7%. The cap was also increased accordingly from 30 to 35%. Mystic, you're probably the only real Alarak player here. Did he need a tweak at all? Do you think this is going to make much difference?
I think this definitely helps. Alarak, though, in this current meta is kind of bad because it's like the double healer, almost double tank meta where he can like pull someone, right? And then he can do damage to him, like really high burst damage. But then they're just gonna get healed up to full, and then he's just gonna be sitting there with his combo down and just be like, well, I don't really do that much else, right? So
maybe in Liquid's tankless meta, he'll have a place again.
He was picked recently, not very often, but he was picked, primarily by Chinese team. But this is the please sir, can I have a game, strictly for him, right? Like this is just how do we bring him into the scene and get him picked more than he is, because he's just not picked.
Yeah, these are very slight changes too. So I don't imagine this is gonna have a huge change, but it's Blizzard's way. You just tune up the knob just slightly, see how it goes before you have anything that you want to do drastic to your hero.
His popularity is 12.6 on hot slogs. Like he's just not picked.
Yeah. We also had some change. One change to Illidan. Hunt cooldown was increased from 60 to 100 seconds. That's a pretty big nerf to the hunt. And I gotta say, a lot of our chair league strats did revolve around Illidan, and the fact that he had this global to engage back whenever we needed to into a fight. This is a significant cooldown increase.
Not just you, man. everybody used that way.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit too low though, because it was, if you were hitting something, it was like effectively 30-second cooldown, and now it's like effectively 70-second cooldown, give or take like 10 seconds.
Yeah. Right. It needed to be done. It was up all the time. And people were abusing it. Not that they shouldn't have been. Like, that was the way it was designed, but it needed to be changed.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. We're going to have to go back to the drawing board from some of our strats in Chair League, but that's okay. Kerrigan got some changes too. Talk about another hero you don't see too much of. So these are very small changes. I put in the notes here. I don't think they're going to have much effect at all. So
what?
You don't think so? Well, we'll talk about it.
Go ahead.
We can feel free to disagree. That's part of the show, right? Well, anyways, Ravage, her Q, the damage was reduced. Impaling Blades, the W, the damage was increased. And Primal Grasp, her E, the damage was also increased. The combo damage, ultimately, if you do QEE, was changed less than 1%. So it ends up balancing out these increases and decreases. And then the other change was Energizing Grasp at E. No one seemed to take it anyways if you look at hot slogs. And Adaptation, which no one really took that much anyways, where you could Q jump to allies, was also removed. So Liquid, tell me why you think this will affect her.
Kerrigan was good on one map, and only one map. And in order for her to be good on that map, her Q needed to work. And if you nerf her Q to the point where, now, in all fairness, I have not actually tried this yet. But if her Q can't kill a skeletal defender now, she's no longer going to be taken on Infernal Shrines. Or not, yeah, Infernal Shrines. Which is the only map you ever saw her play it on.
Yeah, I guess it's true, because it's the Q, then you still get an auto attack afterwards to kill the minion, to get the reset. I think it's within 1 second. So I guess the Q auto attack, the question is, does that kill a minion? And the answer to that might be no. Maybe that's why this happened then. I saw this as being like, why are they changing the damage around? But yeah, something I didn't consider.
Grain of salt, Reddit says no.
A different reason.
And why do you think it's a nerf?
Because they reduce the damage of Q, which is targeted, and they increase the damage of her other combo pieces, which is the spikes and the pull, right? The spikes and the pull can miss. The Q can't, so you can miss that.
So the Schizophrenic in chat is saying the nerf was specifically that she can no longer do the pop to skeletal defenders.
Which is one of those unfortunate things. Like, if you're talking about a niche hero, removing the niche.
Removing the niche, like, okay.
Without buffing in other places too, right? I mean, I guess maybe this. I have a funny feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if a Kerrigan rework may be in the cards.
But then why do this to her? Okay, so let's ignore Pub League. All right, let's just right now on Hot Slog she has a 5.7% pick rate. Okay, so let's just ignore that for a minute and let's strictly go off pro. Okay, if the pros are only playing Kerrigan in one specific situation, right? And that's the only time they were taking her. 115 maps or matches on Infernal Shrines. The next closest one is 37 with Tomb. So she's really not played anywhere but Shrines, right? If that's the case and you now make it so that she can't play on Shrines, you basically nerfed her into the ground, right? That's my problem. Like, you basically said, this one character we only see every so often, yeah, we're just going to do away with her. And then hope that a rework down the road fixes it.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of plan here. Like, I don't see what the reasoning for this necessarily would be unless they saw that as a broken mechanic.
This kind of reminds me of the Warlock change that Blizzard did a while back when they were like, oh, we're going to rework, what was it, Demonology Warlock? And they're like, but so that we make it that no one plays it, we're going to nerf it into the ground. And then, we'll change it later.
All right, that's fair enough. I hate that method though.
We're gonna look back on this 3 months from now, and Kerrigan's gonna be top of the meta on every map, and we'll be like, yeah, that's just Blizzard's way of doing things. It's very cyclical, right? They slowly get down to the bottom, they spend some time on the bottom, the next thing you know, they're back up the top again. And hey, Liquid, maybe that means ETC's due for a rise back to seniority soon.
ETC is playing his way back to the top right now.
In the pro scene, yeah, for sure. Okay, we also have some changes to the Butcher. This is no way you can look at it other than a nerf. Basic attack damage reduced by 4%. He has 20% less fresh meat on hero kills, 50% more meat is lost on death. Level 7, the Insatiable Blade is W go-to talent. This is where the healing from brand was increased from 75 to 100%, and bonus speed was given to you of 20% while facing a branded enemy. The healing bonus has been removed, which is the reason that I usually took it, but the speed bonus has been increased slightly by 5%. Victuals, which I had to look up because I had no idea what this talent did. So I always took Insatiable Blade. Got buffed, but very slightly, and I think it's not going to be taking much. But you heal for 4% of your maximum health when nearby an enemy minion that dies. That's been increased to 5%. So, you're by a minion wave, you wipe the minion wave, you can get a pretty substantial heal. However, that doesn't really help you too much in a team fight, and that's typically where Butcher finds, most of his damage unless you're fighting around a minion wave. Level 16... The lesser picked Crippling Slam. This is where the hamstring slow no longer fades, and the duration is increased by 25%. And it's now the duration is increased by 30%. And then the go-to talent Enrage was changed. So when below 50% health, you used to gain 40% attack speed and 25 armor. Now you only gain 15 armor, so a little bit less survivable. Butcher, he's been running amok a little bit, especially in lower league QM and everything too. So do you guys think this was warranted? I certainly do.
I think it was warranted. He was incentivized to go in, get a kill, and then even if he died, he always came up positive. Now he does that, but there's a little bit more risk involved in doing that.
Liquid, does this remind you of Valeera nerfs, the quick match?
Yes.
The quick match focus nerfs?
I hate quick match focus nerfs. It drives me nuts. This is exactly like I would pour one out for my Butcher mains out there, but I don't have one in my hand to pour out for you guys. But I feel your pain after the Valeera nerf. So
I was having some fun with our good friend Shiz. He used to be a host on the show ages ago. He played Valeera, I played Tyrande. We were running around the map just deleting people. I gotta say, like, whenever you want to go into like your happy place playing Heroes of the Storm, you go into quick match, you queue up with like a nice combo like that, especially after 10 you're both invisible. You can do like just fun stuff like that and just get kills. Doesn't necessarily even like progress the game further from your team's perspective, but still it's fun. And I can see why people pick Nova in quick match, even though I hate Nova and I hate stealth. But that's a conversation for another day, and a conversation that I lost a debate.
You know what? What was really fun with Valeera, or no, the heyday that I remember most, it wasn't even Valeera. It was Varian Li Ming, and just stomping it like Super Dave played Li Ming, and I'd just be like, "We're gonna delete her," and he's like, "Go," and I'd charge, and the charge would root, and they're like, "Boom, you're dead," and we would move on to the next one 8 seconds later.
The fun times in quick match. So Thrall got some changes too. I noticed that these were mostly mana management changes, and there were some buffs to some lesser picked talents. I used to play Thrall all the time. He used to be my go-to melee assassin, but I haven't played him very much recently, even after his rework. I took him out of the shop for a little while there, but realized quickly that he wasn't nearly as strong as I'd hoped he'd be after that rework. So mana cost of Chain Lightning has been reduced by 90%. Or 90. 9%.
90. Whoa.
90. I saw a percent sign.
All of it's gone.
And it looks like there's a little zero next to it. Made a mistake there. 9%. Level 1, Crash Lightning. That's where you hit 2 heroes with lightning. It gives you like a damage stacking. The damage per stack is now increased to 20%. Oh, by 20%. Sorry. I was like to 20%. I was like, that's got to be wrong. It's increased 20% over what it used to be. And then Rolling Thunder, that's the old go-to, where if you auto-attack a target that was recently hit by your lightning, it would return mana. Well, it returns more mana now, 25% more mana. There's the mana management I was talking about before. These are the 2 lesser picked talents on the tiers. So this is just kind of getting some more talent parity, I'm assuming here. Level 4, the popular choice, Mana Tide, now returns 25% less mana when your Frostwolf Resilience procs. Level 16, Thunderstorm. Again, this is one of the lesser picked talents. Lightning, this is where you like throw out your lightning. As long as you're changing your targets, you get like an accumulating slow from your lightning stacking. Well, one thing about this pseudo questing talent, if you cycled onto 5 different targets, as long as you kept doing different targets, you'd have an increase your damage as well for your initial target of 25%. Well, now that damage goes to all targets, 25%. So that combo is now well too with Crash Lightning as well, so you can get actually more damage out. I guess maybe they're looking at maybe like a lightning build here as well. So Mystic, do you see any sort of thing that I'm not seeing here about Thrall? Does this make a lightning build maybe a bit more valuable with Crash Lightning Thunderstorm potential? I guess you shouldn't be really picking for a level 16 to get that big power spike.
Honestly, I look at this and I see it's more or less the same because with Thrall, you mainly use a lot of lightning anyway. And so since they reduce the mana on that, it's better when you're just using lightning. However, because of the mana tide nerf, a lot of people choose mana tide just for the it's basically just more mana and the occasional cooldown reduction, right? So it just means that all of his other abilities, they use a little bit more mana while his lightning uses a little bit less. So not that big.
So a sideways shift more than anything in Mystic's eyes. Zul'jin got a very slight change too. Level 1 Bone Slicer. This is where the bonus damage from Grievous Throw increased by 20%, and pierces, it's now 30%. That's on his Q. So there's a small change to Zul'jin there. Zul, the other Zul, just straight up Zul, not Zul'jin, got a little bit of a nerf. Skeleton's health was reduced by 11%. Skeletal Mage cooldown was increased from 70 to 90 seconds. Not quite the Illidan Hunt nerf we see. Level 7 Trag'Oul's Essence.
Wow.
Talk about mouthfuls today. This is the go-to talent where you get healing and mana return from Skeleton's auto-attacking targets. Well, the healing has been halved that you'd get from that, but the mana return was increased by 25%. So I'm seeing that probably as a nerf unless you're looking to take mostly mana from that. And then level 13, Echoes of Death, is where you get the additional scythes after the first one. The damage of the secondary scythes has been reduced by about 14%. So, like, what do you get? Have you been seeing much Zul in professional play, Liquid, or is this more just
Not
the public?
that much. I mean, it's mostly public. He gets a little bit of time. I feel like I just saw a game with him, and he had some picks in recent tournaments, but not like a huge amount. Tomb of the Spider Queen, right? Like, good rotations. Looking at Master League, it looks like GFE, My Insanity, E-Star, Team Liquid, Fnatic, Naventic, MVP. It looks like he's getting a decent amount of picks.
Mystic, do you think, because now that we're, I don't know, what, a month, 2 months into his rework, they want him to have a bit more like team fight, like participation or damage, right? Do you think that they ultimately got what they were expecting to get out of Zul with that rework from a month or two ago? I haven't played a ton of Zul, so what do you think?
See, what I think the Blizzard thought about Zul here is that when they reworked him and they did all these changes, he was a bit too strong. Like, he was much stronger than they expected, probably, and which is probably why they're dishing out these nerfs. Like, he was good at wave clear, he was good at team fighting. There's nothing that he was really bad at because they took away his like team fight weakness, right? So he had wave clear, he had some survivability, he had team fight. Like, this guy had most of everything. So then they're like, right. Well, he's a little bit too good at everything. So let's give him a few more weaknesses. Let's tone him down a little bit, is what I see here.
Well, and I think it was the Malthael patch, right, where he got buffed up. No, it was the Stukov patch. It had to be Stukov. Because he got picked a lot more games. He got picked in 20 games on the Stukov patch, where on the Malthael patch, he only got picked in 6 games, rather. So they buffed him a little too much in that Stukov patch. So they're just correcting.
Yep. Zagara got a small change as well. Level 16 Mutalisk. It's where you change your... Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, Miss, because I don't have the notes. Your Hydralisks change to Mutalisks. Am I saying that right?
That's correct.
Perfect. So they're flying Mutalisks. So the duration of those Mutalisks are now reduced from 45 to 30 seconds. So I'm assuming you can't just start having them spam in a lane. It was nice. I remember when Zagara had her rework ages ago, you could get like an army of them essentially in a lane if you did it properly. Obviously, that was something that Blizzard did not like, and I remember them nerfing it before, but I guess this is a further nerf to that, so you can't have too many Mutalisks active at once. Does this make you sad as a StarCraft fan, where I'm sure you had many armies of Mutalisks assaulting people, Mystic?
I mean, it was always fun having 3 just sitting in a lane, pushing it down, and then you could just leave, and it would still be pushing down the lane. They're basically like catapult minions almost for pushing the lane. I think now you can only have 2 instead of 3, or maybe that's not quite right. Just less.
Either way, it makes a big difference. Like 45 to 30 seconds, that's significant amount of nerf. There's 33%, a third of the time taken off of the duration right there. So Ariel, I've been playing a lot of Ariel recently and realizing how powerful she can be when you've got a solid battery. Well, they changed her slightly today. I say slightly, but probably more than just slightly, especially for your higher skill capped hero or players who are taking her in competitive play. So bestow hope. No, I got corrected by Mystic pre-show. I thought this was for the heroes you had your hat on, but this is only for Ariel. So hope generated by Ariel hitting heroes has been increased from 40 to 50%. So she'll generate more hope by herself. Sacred, but the problem is, though, she's doing less damage because Sacred Sweep, the damage has been reduced from 25% outside of the center of the sweep, but it's also been increased 12.5% in the center. So if you're really good at hitting the center there, I guess technically you can do more damage output. But if you're like me, especially if you take the bigger sweep talents, you're mostly hitting most of your targets outside of the center. Detainment Strike on her E, the initial damage has been halved of the ribbon, but if you stun a character, the damage has been increased. The end result is if you stun an enemy, it takes essentially the same amount of damage. So again, higher skill cap, you gotta be a bit more careful with your positioning if you want to get the same damage output. Resurrect cooldown has been reduced from 120 to 100 seconds. Still think people are going to take Crystal Aegis there. But the big thing, and this is what I imagine is going to affect pro play a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, Liquid, is Bursting Light, which is a level 7 talent. Cooldown reduction of Ray of Heaven was reduced by, I believe, 2 seconds. That's been removed. So if you were having a battery that could constantly fill up your hope, you could pump out a lot more consistent healing. Well, that's been removed. Liquid, is this something that I guess pro play is going to see more of a nerf to, or is this going to affect everybody?
This is going to affect everybody in the yes and no. Some pros took it, some pros didn't, but that's not it's not quite enough to be a huge nerf. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I'm really torn on this, like whether or not that was really, because that helped her healing output, right? And so how much is it going to really affect it?
I guess no matter what, removing a talent that someone might have taken is a straight up nerf, no matter what, even if it's a lesser picked talent. And the fact that it was one of the more common ones will affect those players. And as Blizzard specifically said, they wanted to make sure you didn't have that Ariel only being really good or being super effective with the hyper carry. And the hyper carry, if you got so much hope that you're overflowing with hope, no pun intended, Bursting Light would help mitigate that. Well, now you don't have that anymore. However, and sorry, Chris, from my cheer league team, but I never seem to have a problem with throwing out the hope frequently like that and always having it full. He's a really great battery, and he's a really great Vala, but I never took Bursting Light because I never felt like I was overflowing with hope the whole time, so it wouldn't affect me. However, the damage decrease, I think, is something that more people will be seeing, and I guess it's nice getting the extra 10% off the Bestow Hope trait, but still.
So I just looked because that got me curious. Yeah, since the Ariel patch, everybody has taken Bursting Light.
Not everybody, because I didn't. But
no.
It's very
no. In HGC play,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Everybody in HGC play. Again, thank you, MasterLeague.net. I love you guys. Everybody in HGC play has picked Bursting Light. So yeah,
which makes sense because if you've got a battery that has that insane damage throughput constantly coming out, that your cooldown on Bursting Light was the limiting factor on your healing.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about this change. So because they took out Bursting Light, they essentially took out, I'd say at level 7, 50% of Oriel's healing because it reduced the cooldown by half, right? And if you had a full energy bar every single time, then every 2 seconds, then you get the full energy bar of Oriel heal. But now, since they took it out, now you have to wait 4 seconds, so it's double the cooldown. Plus, I think what some people didn't realize is with Bursting Light, even if you didn't have full energy, it gave you the versatility to choose your healing more often. Let's just say you have 75% hope, right? And then that, let's just say your Vala has her spells up and she's about to go in, multi-shot, Hungering Arrow, and do a bunch of auto attacks. You can actually throw out that heal so that when she does that burst, you don't overfill your hope, right? So you can have that as a kind of, it's kind of the same as overhealing. You don't get over resource or something.
You get the extra 2 seconds of flexibility on your heals. So like you said, you can throw out a half heal quickly and then knowing that your hope's going to fill up really fast and you don't have to worry that you're waiting 4 seconds to throw out the secondary heal. if someone's getting into trouble. Good point. Maybe if I listened to Mystic, maybe I would have been taking that more often too. So Lucio got some changes too, and I say some, but very few. Health and regen increased by 10%. Lucio hasn't been seen too much since he was king of the hill of supports for a while. Not sure how much this is going to necessarily affect that. I think his healing output nerf was the one that really put him into the ground. That might have to come back up before he's impactful again, because he's a late game healer, and generally you don't want just a healer that's a late game healer. Tassadar, our good friend Tassadar, gets tweaked in every single patch, at least like 90% of them, and he got tweaked again today. Basic attack damage reduced by 7%, health reduced by 5%, and regen reduced by 6%. And level 1, they're like, okay, well, we'll give you a bit of a buff, Tassadar. Don't worry, we're nerfing all that stuff. We'll give you a little bit of a buff to a talent that no one took, Kaidarin's Resonance. I was waiting for Mystic to like correct me on this one. It was a lower pick talent. This is a globe questing talent that gives you bonus mana from globes of 100%. Sorry, the mana you get from globes is a bonus of 100% mana return, up from 50%. That was just part of the talent, but that's the part that got buffed. Poor Tassadar. He feels so strong, then he gets twerked so much. Who
He's
knows?
back to the wet noodle.
Yeah.
You mean tweaked?
Twerked. No, he's twerking. He knows how to work it, right?
All right, that just put a picture in my head that I just did not.
Try not to think about it too much.
My brain. Bleach, please.
Yes. Sorry for all those viewers, even the audio viewers, putting the mental image in your head of Tassadar twerking, I'm sure is one that you hope that would never get into your head. So let's move on to something a little bit more pleasant. Tyrande got
Only to you.
Yes, Tyrande is one of my favorite heroes to play. She got a bit of a nerf to her hyper carry build that kind of came to light a few weeks ago, and a buff to some of her lesser picked talents. Level 4, her lesser picked talent, Celestial Attunement. This is where healing, using your healing talent, someone would remove stuns, now removes silence as well. And I haven't tested it out, but it's worth knowing that taunt is considered a silence. From what I understand, that was brought in on the Garrosh patch. So I'm assuming this can heal someone out of a taunt, which is pretty useful. Kaldorei Resistance, which was the go-to hypercarry build talent, to pick max spell armor from healing stacks now caps at 45% instead of 60%. This is where if you healed yourself, you get 15% spell armor, and it would stack with itself up to 60%. Now it only stacks up to 45%. The idea on this hypercarry build is if you're constantly attacking and healing yourself, like on a hero, you basically give yourself all this resistance. You're putting out damage and be healing yourself. It was almost impossible to 1v1 duel Tyrande, and she have a lot of burst and damage mitigation too. So that's where she's found her kind of place and how they've nerfed that slightly. Level 13, Empower, has been changed. It's the cooldown reduction on hitting heroes with Sentinel that also now actually also lowers the base cooldown of Sentinel by 4 seconds out of the gate if you take this. So that was less pick talent that's been buffed. And her hypercarry build talent that got nerfed is Harsh Moonlight. This is, I mean, it's not even just the hypercarry build, I think it's just the go-to build in general. This is where if you hit someone with your owl, they got slowed and got damage reduction as well. The slow's been reduced from 30 to 25%. The damage reduction has been reduced from 30 to 25%. I always thought that was such an OP talent. I'm not surprised they changed that. What do you guys think of Tyrande now that she's been changed? What about you, Mystic? What do you think?
I think the tech Tyrande pick might be viable if you're fighting the 2.5 second taunt Garrosh, which is pretty ridiculous. The Kaldorei Resistance nerf, I feel like that was kind of needed, because of what you said. You could not hurt her with spells like at all. I still think Harsh Moonlight's really strong. They nerfed the damage reduction by 5%, but it's still like 25% damage reduction. That's a lot. And then especially when your owl can pierce, then it's AoE 25% damage reduction. That's still ridiculous.
That's huge. It's essentially giving your whole team 25% armor or 25 armor. The Kaldorei Resistance too, I always loved it whenever KT would throw a Pyroblast at me. Instead of just doing the usual like run away, like futilely, like as far as you can, hoping like your health regen would help bring you up. Instead you sit there, auto attack as much as you can, healing yourself up and getting like possibly 60% damage mitigation to the Pyroblast is usually the way I kind of try to counter that. So but that is no longer something you can do as effectively anyhow with this nerf. So, again, being a healer main, I hate seeing healers nerfed, but we got a little bit of a nerf to Uther as well, at least something I perceive as a nerf. So he's going to see less armor from his trait. And I think this is the big nerf that he got here. Armor for healing allies has been reduced from 25 to 15, which is...
Hold on. Can we just stop right there for a
I
second?
will stop. Liquid has
That
something to say.
needed to happen so badly. I'm so glad it's done. Holy crap. Whoever, 25 armor, what? That needed to be done.
There's the other side of it too, and I don't know necessarily about competitive, but just from my aspect of it, the recent nerfs to Uther, where he was more mana intensive and less healing output, I feel like that balanced him a lot better, and I thought he was in a good spot, at least in like my level of play, with what he was before today. Now with less armor, like 10% less damage mitigation seems pretty large to me, and they only increased his healing slightly, which is what I'm getting to next. Holy Light healing and self-healing has been increased by 6%, and Holy Radiance healing and damage has been increased by 9%. Also, the level 1 Wave of Light talent, questing talent that returns mana on heroes hit and rewards an extra second of armor once you get enough heroes hit with it. The mana return is down from 8 to 5 per hero hit, and additional bonus armor duration is down from 1 to 0.5 seconds. I feel like that was unnecessary. He already has significant mana issues, at least the way I play him, spammy Uther, I guess. I always felt like whenever I picked him after a team fight, I'd be like, hey guys, just remember, this is a prolonged team fight. I'm going to be out of mana. And this is going to make it even worse because you're getting, significantly less mana back. The armor duration, the damage mitigation is lowered as well. And Holy Fire, the other pick talent at level 4 that I picked a lot too anyways to increase his laning. Burning RO damage has been reduced by 13%. So do you guys think this these buffs to healing in any way offset this armor reduction?
This is the conversation Mystic and I always get into. And I feel like we almost need a Dr. Daz's science lab on this.
Uh-oh.
Like,
Okay.
what is the equivalent armor to hit point ratio?
That's
in Heroes
so
of the
situational, right?
But is it?
Well, there's burst, sustain, right? Like, it depends what kind of damage you're taking and like how long it lasts to the armor.
All right, that's fair. But you can still work that out to 1% of armor equals 3% hit points, right? Like, you can come to that formula somehow.
Doesn't 1% of armor just equal 1% of your maximum HP because it's 1-to-1?
I think the skill cap that comes into here is that you want to make sure armor is up on any allies taking damage, and as long as you can maximize the amount of time that the armor is up while they're taking damage, like your heals are getting value, but also you're getting value on the damage mitigation. And I think that's where Uther's skill cap came into it. You didn't want to do your Q and W right away. You wanted to stagger them so you get more armor out in general and mitigating damage while doing the healing. Now I feel like this might be a bit more of a difficult situation. Blizzard specifically said they wanted to try and get rid of the dual support meta with Uther, and he pretty much paired well with any support, giving armor, and then you could heal up someone while they have armor on them as well as a fairly strong combination. That is a little bit less viable now. But still, I can see where Liquid's saying, like, one thing Uther has in his kit that no other healer has is a point and click stun, which is an amazing combo and CC with a lot of different abilities. So suddenly use that, and it's not only a stun, it's a triple stun if you think about it too, with Benediction, and if you go Divine Storm, you can lock down a character until they're dead, like no matter what. Even if you're a very poorly coordinated team, it's pretty easy to see who to kill there. But it's a point well taken. It's tough to juggle, and I feel like a lot of it comes down to your skill as a healer too, when you're healing and versus when you're mitigating. And now Uther's gonna have to sit there and be like, hey, like my armor mitigation isn't as much, so am I a damage mitigator or am I a healer? And before, I think it was more that I try to focus heals on people getting bursted down and let the other healer just do raw healing. Whereas now it might be a little bit of a different situation. Now they've tipped the scales in the other direction. Did I convince you? Or maybe not convince is the right word, but yeah, I don't know about these Uther changes. I don't like them very much, and I'll have to get some playtime into with them. But I think before I've got a very solid opinion of them. But I know Mystic used to healer main as well. Do you think this is hurting him significantly, or this had to be done?
I mean, of course it hurts him significantly, but I feel like it almost had to be done here. Because he was just so prevalent, right? Not only did he provide the armor, and it was just universal, right? Armor, it just affected everybody. Because it was both physical armor and spell armor. Not only that, but like the The downside of him was that he'd run out of mana because he tried to raw heal, right? And that wasn't his strong suit. So then the double healer meta came in, and then he didn't have to do that. He just put him on burst targets, like you said. And so now, since they nerfed his armor, I think he'll be a little bit more niche because he has a lot less raw healing now and like a lot less armor now. So you just you need a little bit more finesse on Uther now instead of where you just throw your armor and it's 25% damage reduction on anything, right?
It's funny because Blizzard was saying, okay, we want to try and reduce his effectiveness in the double support kind of composition, but now it's almost like you might require that in a lot of ways to get the effectiveness out of him. I guess they didn't up his raw healing, especially if you hit your W's properly. Like 10% healing is significant, but still, I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in what they've done with Uther here. So Chen, that's a hero I wasn't expecting.
Chen.
I was not expecting Chen to get a nerf. You know what's the problem is now we're talking about twerking. I'm just seeing Chen twerking in my head, and that's like even even worse. That's even worse visual than Tastar twerking.
That was for you, buddy. That was for you. That was because of your Tastar twerk comment.
Okay,
I had to bust that out.
Okay, do you just put something in the notes here? We want to read over that first.
No. We can go.
Sure.
Keep going.
Well, okay. So Chen had health regen nerf by 3%. Level 7, this is the famous Brewmaster's Balance tier, and I've heard many people say, you know what, you know how to fix Chen? You make Brewmaster's Balance baseline. Well, they just tried to stuff this talent tier full of other options instead. Refreshing Elixir has been removed, and I had to look this up because I never took it. More healing while drinking is what that used to be, but now it no longer exists. Purifying Brew has been moved to this talent tier from level 20. This is where stun durations were reduced by something like 75%, and if you got stunned, you refresh your cooldown for your drinking. So Brewmaster Balance is just such a strong talent. It's hard to take anything else, but I guess if you're in a very stun-heavy environment, maybe the Purifying Brew is the way to go there. And then level 16, Flying Leap, that's where you get the bonus range on your flying kick, has been reduced from 20 to 15%. Okay, so level 1 talent is bugged, Liquid? What's this about?
Level 1 talent is bugged. All right, so Reddit being Reddit is blowing up, as is normally the case. And a bunch of people complaining about, I can't believe Chen's getting nerfed, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's a bug right now where if you take, and I don't remember the name of the talent, and of course, I couldn't find it because I was frantically getting ready for the show and forgot to even add this into our notes earlier tonight. Let me just pull it up. Anyway, if you take this talent at level 1, which is the one that grabbing regen globes increases health gen, precious ingredients. If you roll as a group and one of you grabs it, and you know how it goes to all 5 people in the group, that counts as 5 regen globes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How did that pop up in there? You gotta wonder how some of these bugs surface, eh? But so maybe it's not a nerf to Chen after all.
Well, I mean, it is a nerf, but it's a
not an unintentional buff in some way.
Right. This is like weird. And the question really is whether or not that was a problem last week.
Who knows? I didn't hear anything about it until you mentioned it now, so I'm assuming it wasn't. But you never know. Some of these things go quiet, like the Dragon Shire buffs. No one knew about that for like 3 weeks, right, until Blizzard told us there was a change.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they had to nerf Chen. Like, his win rate wasn't terribly high ever since they made those changes a little while ago to his drinking, giving you like a little bit of a burst to your brew. But I don't know. It always disappoints me when they nerf Chen. I feel like he's picked so little and in so few environments that he didn't necessarily need this. I just thought you'd do a double take.
Yeah. Okay. So completely unrelated. Sorry.
Oh, completely. I thought it was gonna be Chen related, but no.
No. HGC breaking news, unrelated. E-Star is disbanded, and Wukong Gaming has been relegated. So instead, the One and Beyond the Game will be replacing them in HGC China on August 28th, which is Monday, which is crazy. And then also Naventic. Now, so Naventic, I didn't cover this. Naventic basically the dude completely sold off Niantic to an investor. And that dude released all the players, and basically he just bought the name Niantic, right? And so instead, they are playing under the name Team Lag Force. So, Mr. Skills, I saw it and I'm saying it, man. I have no idea E-Star disbanded. I did not see that one coming.
Wow, maybe you sure need to do a troll in HGC after this then. All this breaking news and different things with sponsorships all of a sudden.
Oh, and you know what? I tweeted a lot about it. I'm sorry, I got one other thing to mention. No Tomorrow is now Space Station Gaming because they got a sponsor.
This always makes it so complicated to follow HGC sometimes, or just esports in general. Just like a constant changing of names and like roster swaps and everything too makes it a little bit discombobulating at times. But hey, it's part of how it goes, and I'm sure things will settle down eventually as like the larger esports gets in general. Hopefully.
All right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt our
that's all right.
Our patch blitz.
TLDR, Chen got nerfed. Why'd he get nerfed? We don't really know, but he did. Next on the docket, Garrosh. He got some slight buffs here. Warlord's Challenge, taunt duration increased from 1.5 to 2 seconds. I feel like Liquid and Mystic have been having an ongoing discussion about taunt, this two ultimates here, but maybe this will tip Mystic towards the taunt side of things. I don't know, but apparently Blizzard agreed with Mystic and said, hey, taunt's not quite good enough. We need to up it a little bit. I'm sure
let's make it ridiculous.
Yeah, let's make Liquid happy by making it a little bit longer. Level 1 Unrivaled Strength. This increases the throw range from 20 to 30% now, and the bonus damage is now not 100% anymore, it's 125%. Level 4 Talent, this is a little picked one. I don't even have the name of it. Increases Bloodthirst bonus damage on non-hero kills. Sorry, let me start this again. So if you use Bloodthirst on a non-hero, the kill would refresh the cooldown. That's what the talent does. They increase the bonus damage against non-heroes from 60 to 70%. I don't have the name of the talent here. I don't know why I didn't. But this is the very Kerrigan-esque style one. So, hey, maybe Garrosh is the new Infernal Shrines Kerrigan, just jumping around using what Liquid's about to put in here. It is called In for the Kill. So that
me.
Oh, sorry, Mystic put that in there. Thank you, Mystic. So maybe that'll replace Kerrigan on Infernal Shrines. Who knows? Level 7 Into the Fray. This is the friendly throw talent. The mana cost has been removed. I guess it's nice if you're trying to save someone. It turns out you don't have enough mana. Well, it turns out you don't need it anymore. So Garrosh has been changed. Now, what do we think about Garrosh in general? What do we think about his ultimates, guys? Because I know that's a can of worms. Liquid, why don't we start with you? You think Taunt is just that much better now and it's the obvious choice? Or does Decimate have a place?
Decimate, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I hate you, Mystic. Decimate does have a place. but I still strongly believe, looking at his kit, especially with this change, Taunt is the way to go. Decimate is okay, but like
we in Team League the other day, we killed maybe it wasn't a very good Garrosh, but we killed the taunting Garrosh several times within the same game too, because he'd taunt and everyone would be focusing him, not to mention the people outside the taunt would be focusing him too, and he was a dead Garrosh almost every time. Just saying. Now it's just gonna happen for a little bit longer, right? It's like a poor man's Mosh.
Yes and no. So Garrosh, I think Garrosh's biggest problem is just, and I mentioned this last week, people need to learn to play around him. It's much like Varian, right? People had to learn to play around Varian. And until they did so, having Varian as your solo tank was like an issue, right? And so we have kind of a similar thing going on right now where people are just learning to play around Garrosh as like a tank. And as they get used to it, it'll get better. It's just not there yet.
Garrosh is he's got a fairly low win rate though. It's sub 50. Like doing like
he needs a little bit of the buff. I even said he was coming in undertuned. Like the percentage armor you get for the amount of health you're missing is just not equal. If we were to take Mystic's example, where 1% of your health, maximum health, equals 1% armor or 1 armor, Garrosh doesn't follow that, right? And so it's a 2% of your max health is 1 armor, and it's not enough to make him tanky enough to really, even if you go full on tank, he's not quite tanky enough to be like solo tank Garrosh. It's not there yet.
Yeah,
so they need to figure out what knob to turn, but these will help.
And I think we've seen that too. Any comps I've seen Garrosh, and there's always been another tank with him, or at least a bruiser of some sort to soak up some of that damage and provide some of the tanking role.
And 100% into the fray had to have its mana removed. That was just ridiculous. Sorry.
And now that we're done the patch, the best bug fix award, and this is usually, I try to find a funny one, but there wasn't too many funny ones, but there's one that I specifically wanted to talk about. Cassia's Fend and Karazim's Radiant Dash got their pathing fixed. Thank freaking God. Because if you ever played Cassia in the past few weeks, I'm not sure when this bug was introduced, but if you fended and you had to path around terrain, you get stuck. And I guess Karazim had a similar issue too. I'm assuming they're probably related. And it made it that it was almost like a mini silence on Cassia if you were using it in those situations, which was fairly frequent. It wasn't one of those in rare circumstances, it was bugged. It was bugged like a significant amount at the time they used it. So those have been fixed. Any of those Cassia players can breathe a sigh of relief. Anytime I was playing with Cassia, I was like, that Fend's bugged, right? Like I always made sure I asked them that before they started the match, just so that they'd realize. But generally, most people knew about it already if they were playing Cassia. So good job, Blizzard, on fixing those bugs. Now he's got to fix the Chen bug, hopefully next patch. So Gamescom happened.
Oh my God.
Or is happening. And there was a lot that came out of this. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nah, when you interrupt me, you can go ahead, bud.
I was just going to say, can we all agree, though, that today's reveal was really weak? Did you guys watch it?
It was so weak, I don't know what it is.
I know, I was going to say, what are you talking
about? It was nothing. So that was my problem. You know what they did? They're like, I was expecting like Machines of War style. Here comes another hero maybe, or another map or something, right? Something to like sink my teeth into. I was supposed to be out when noon was rolling around and I wasn't going to get to see it. But I'm like, no. I told my boss, we can't go to lunch yet. We need to wait 20 minutes. I need to see what they announce. He's like, all right, cool. I wait around because the whole thing was Monday we're going to show you the first hero, and then Wednesday we're going to show you the real stuff. So I wait around. Blizz Heroes comes on the stage right after a really cool Hearthstone video, I have to be honest, about the little girl. That was pretty cool. He comes out on the stage. What does he show us but the freaking Spotlight video for KT? The Spotlight. I'm like, dude, really? The Spotlight video? You released that on YouTube. You don't do that on the stage at Gamescom. And then I'm like, all right, but that's cool. Maybe he's got something to follow up with. I'm going to stick around. Hold on, boss. A little bit longer, please. Keep watching. He comes back out and says, and that's not all. People always, we try to explain to people all the stuff that's involved with making a new hero. So you know what we did? We made a long-ass video that we broke up into segments documenting this. And we're going to show you the beginning of the first segment right now. Shows that, and that was it. And I'm like I would have flipped the table if I could have flipped the table. I was like, anything. Really, Blizzard? They didn't reveal jack. Nothing.
You can tell Liquid's a little salty.
And Ogre, I know they said they were going to reveal the Spotlight video, but I was expecting more, not just that. It just I wanted more, man. I wanted more. And you know what? Maybe Liquid Salt is what I really need to do for my first emote.
Your emote.
But I'm worried about that because that could go in a way I don't mean for it to go, but the guys in Gank Push Squad do mean for it to go. So I'm not sure that's going to be the way I go. But
Liquid tinfoil hat might be another good one too.
Yes, dude, that's it. Oh my God, that's it. And it's going to be the tinfoil hat image you use. Yes.
The Liquid memes have started.
The Liquid memes have started. Anyway, so all right, so go through the updates.
We did get some stuff out of Gamescom, especially on the Monday. So we'll go through it. Obviously, KT was announced. We've already talked about that. But there's some other things that came out of it too. Obey the Call event is coming out when KT is released. September 5th to 25th. So I'm assuming that means KT's release date is September the 5th. Now, I'm not going to go over the details of specifically what the rewards are here, but getting threshold levels of takedowns and playing games with or against Kel'Thuzad will give you various portraits, sprays, and banners. And the interesting thing here that I noted in the little footnotes is that you can do this in AI. And since we're talking about takedowns in games, you can go in and you can just farm takedowns in AI and basically complete this in like one game, other than the fact that you've got one that it's like number of games played with Kel'Thuzad, but you can grind those out pretty quickly in AI if you're that kind of player that just wants to grind it out quickly and get it over with. We got some new skins. I know Liquid's excited about some of these.
All of them.
All of them. Dreadlord Jaina. It's like almost like a Kerrigan looking Jaina. And they've completely thrown out the whole idea of they've got to have similar silhouettes because this Jaina, she's got wings, demon wings, and she looks sick. We've got post Theramore Jaina. That's salty Jaina, which would probably like salty Liquid quite a bit. For those of you not up on your WoW lore too, I guess Garrosh
blew it up, dude.
Blew up Theramore.
He blew up Theramore
with the equivalent
with
of
a mana bomb.
With the equivalent of a nuclear warhead.
It was awesome.
You know, fun-loving, like, I'm here to help Jaina, turned into very salty, very pissed off Jaina. She got a bit of a streak in her hair now, too, to go along with her mean streak.
You have to play WoW because, oh my God, she was, like, imprisoning everybody. Oh my God, like, so much stuff went down from that. You got to go through
I should pay for WoW for a month, get like a super leveled character, and just walk through all the vanilla stuff and just go through all the different campaigns that you can go through. Still, I'm assuming they can't go through all of them. But just go through some of the lore. So.
No, you can do it all. You can do it all. It's oh my God.
Sweet.
Yes.
Would I be able to one hit Arthas in the Wrath of the Lich King?
No, it's a little bit more than one hit, but you can take him down pretty easily.
Sweet. So we've also got Death Knight Sonya coming in and Crypt Queen Zagara, which looks similar to actually the Desert Queen Zagara, but a little more Crypt Queeny than Desert Queeny. But
no, did you see all the eyes, man? All the eyes?
No, I didn't see that part.
She looks like a Spider Queen.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
that's what threw me off. I legitimately thought it was going to be a Spider Queen, like the real Spider Queen, and then it wasn't.
And then Illidan's got a Death Knight mount. Not Illidan, but Illidan's Death Knight mount is incoming as well. Which one are you going to buy first, Liquid? And the answer is not all of them.
Okay, if I can't say all of them, then it goes Death Knight Sonya, Dreadlord Jaina, Crypt Queen Zagara, post Theramore Jaina.
I think Dreadlord Jaina is where I'm going to be spending my shards as soon as it comes out. How about you, Mystic?
Go ahead.
Yeah, probably Dreadlord Jaina and Crypt Queen Zagara. I don't really play Sonya that much, but yeah.
I like melee better than I like ranged, so that's why Sonya wins. If it was strictly on just raw appearance, 100% Dreadlord Jaina, 100%. Especially if she flies. I haven't seen any video where like, like Muradin in his little he can fly with his little jetpack thing. If Jaina flies like that, dude, which she should, because others do.
I feel like this is one of the ones that's going to be like a legendary skin that they put a lot of extra resources into, so it'll be interesting to see what extra flavor they come up with for it, too.
My only hope is that I can buy them all, because I just want to throw my money at my monitor and have them.
You can do that. Technology's advanced a little bit. You don't have to throw money at monitors. You can just click some buttons here and there to get that to work. But yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to purchase these in probably multiple bundle packs or just straight up as soon as they're released. We also have a couple announcers. I know where I'm going to be spending my shards too, as soon as I can get enough shards for the new KT announcer. Jane announcer is coming too, but KT announcer I imagine is going to be great. Also, some UI changes are incoming. And by the way, these Gamescom updates, we don't have any sort of specific... I think this is going to be PTR stuff probably in a few weeks. So I'm assuming a lot of this stuff's going to be released with Kel'Thuzad, but Kel'Thuzad, but I'm not sure if it's been officially announced when these are all coming. But anyhow, baseline quests shown on the talent, or can be shown on the talent screen now. So Kel'Thuzad, Butcher, knowing his meat stacks, now see that on the talent screen. I was actually commenting about that the other day. I wish you could see what the enemy's Butcher stacked at, or even just on your own team, just knowing what he stacked at is kind of difficult sometimes. But that will be able to be shown now on the talent screen. And there were some reworks announced too. We're not going to go over these in detail, because once they come in, we'll go over them in detail then. But just kind of breezing over everything. Chromie Jaina.
Sorry. Go ahead.
See, I feel like you gotta follow that up, Liquid. You can't
Dude,
just.
Leoric! Oh my god, I can't wait to play Leoric on PTR. Oh my god!
It's like you just saw this for the first time. You must have read this before, right?
No, I did. I totally read it. I read it today, but it was. And I'm not reacting to reading it today. I'm just like super. I was been waiting.
Just giddy like a
to this point in the
schoolgirl.
show, so I can be like, oh my god, I can't wait to play Leoric.
How many
because
liquid?
Jesus.
How many custom liquid emojis can we come up with in a day? Little school.
Liquidgasm.
Liquidgasm. Sure, I wasn't going there. I was gonna say little schoolgirl liquid, but liquidgasm works too, and the Gankbush guys would be happy with that one, I'm sure. Okay, so Chromie, it got some changes and quite a bit. I was actually watching Oddish. She was giving some coverage on what she loves Chromie and some of the changes here. So baseline, she's got a Q quest. That's her little where she shoots out in a straight line. I can't remember what it's called, her Q ability. So the damage has been reduced on her Q, but she has a baseline quest that increases damage with no cap too. Every time you hit someone, they get additional bonus damage to her Q, and the completion of the quest too. You also get past and future me. I guess you want to call it baseline, but you get that as the quest rewards. That's where you get the additional Chromie, like the little sand version of Chromie, who will shoot out her Qs as well when you show your Q. Also, you get a little combo counter. So every consecutive Q you hit, you do bonus damage on top of the baseline quest as well. She's also got level 13 talent, which is pretty interesting too, because it lets you swap locations with your sand clone, assuming you've got it. This includes like you can teleport back to the Hall of Storms or whatever it's called where you heal up. You can hearth back, and then you press your button to teleport right back to your sand clone location. So you can basically have like almost a little ward, like a demonic circle for Gul'dan where you left off last in your fight. So you can get right back into the action after quickly hearthing without having to walk or ride all the way back. Also, other neat thing too, there's some other changes too that I'm not going to go over today. Level 20 temporal loop, you can have it that after you finish it, you can cast it again immediately. I feel like there must be a caveat to this. Maybe you got to kill someone in order to do that, but still, that sounds pretty awesome to me. And again, of course, you say level 20, but you get this level 18. Jaina, Ice Block is going to be a baseline talent reward as well. So it's a baseline quest. If you deal 15,000 critical damage, it's frozen to a frozen target, you'll actually gain access to Ice Block. You don't have to talent into it anymore. There's also some various talent changes to Jaina. Deep Chill and Frostbitten specifically have been removed, and things have been moved around a little bit. Again, we'll go into those once we get a bit more detail about what her complete rework's looking like. And at level 20, she also gets a Bolt of the Storm variant called Ice Blink, which is a Bolt of the Storm with an AoE chill in the area too. I don't know why you necessarily want to go into the action with Jaina. You're probably going to use that as an escape, but she does have a little offensive ability to that as well. Leoric. Liquid is happy Leoric's getting some changes.
Yay!
And it was hard to make sense of them all, but in general, the Q cooldown, so this is big swing, is up to 14 seconds. However, if you hit a hero, you half the cooldown and you get all your mana back.
It's basically God tier. Can we just say Leoric is now God tier?
Yeah,
Like Leoric just replaced Dahaka. Nobody is real. Like it hasn't clicked yet. At least it hasn't clicked on Reddit yet. He just replaced Dahaka.
Let's wait till we see everything, though. We've just got little pieces here, I think. I think you might be a little premature to say that he's getting that hard back into the meta.
I'm calling it now, man.
Okay.
I'm calling it now.
And I'm skeptical still. So his W is Drain Hope. The health absorb has been reduced. It's down to 20% from 25% baseline. The interesting thing, and I didn't actually really understand how this worked too. So I believe he's got an auto attack animation where like he's got 3 auto attacks, but they're different animations. Because it sounds like the first 2 auto attacks that he does in his animation sequence will actually cleave, whereas the third one does double damage to the target.
Yeah, he squeezes forward and back and then forward again.
So yeah, so this is an interesting thing here that they're bringing into it where depending on what animation is currently going on, he's going to do a different thing with his auto attack cleaving or double damage. You got various talents reworked, some interesting healing and survivability talents as well, one of which is Consume Vitality, which when you use your Q, it heals for 4% of the max health per enemy hero hit. So this is where Liquid's having Liquidgasm. Yeah, we've started it. Thanks, Mystic.
It's done. It's done.
It's there. It's now a thing. So yeah, Leoric on Vikings, Leoric on Samuro, anything where there's lots of bodies around there, he's gonna get lots of healing out of his Q. Especially gets the cooldown reduction and gets all of his mana back too, just baseline from that. Entomb cooldown has been increased. March cooldown has been reduced, and the healing and damage from it has been increased, which I think needed to be done. March, I feel like, was a very underpicked talent or underserved talent. Level 13, Ominous Wrath. I thought this one was cool. That's why I put it here. There's a lot of other changes to Leoric too, by the way.
Yes.
You can wraith through an enemy and reduce their damage by 50% for 4 fucking seconds. Oh Jesus,
dude! I'm telling you,
that's nuts. That deserved an F-bomb right there too. 4 seconds, 50% damage reduction to as many targets as you go through.
It's like, you want Diva? Screw Diva. I'm just gonna ghost my way through them all.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah, that's some serious damage reduction there.
Someone put this on level 16 instead of 13.
Yeah.
No.
But
and while we're at it, can we get a counter about how much your damage has been reduced? Because I think we're gonna need that sometime soon.
Yeah, this is
that I agree with.
Base 50 damage reduction. Oh my gosh, this is gonna get touched. You can't expect this to.
No. This is making it, dude. This is 100%.
It might make it to live, but I'm not sure it's gonna make it much further unless Leoric is significantly low in the scales here. If there's gonna be a nerf to him, I think this level 13 is where they're gonna nerf him. That's my prediction here. If a nerf is warranted,
he's gonna be so awesome. I cannot wait for PTR, dude. Like all the other changes, and as much as I want to play KT just to see, I will be on Leoric like the whole time. It's gonna be so much fun.
What, you're not gonna be playing Morales? Because Morales got changed too. Morales doesn't have mana anymore. How weird is that?
I know, but no. This is crazy.
Yeah. So talking about Morales, she's got no more mana. She's got 100 energy. This is very similar to Valeera.
Yep.
After not using her Q, by the way, this energy only is with respect to her healing beam. After not using your healing beam for 3 seconds, you'll start regenerating your energy. 6 energy per second. You do the math there, see how much time it takes to get to full. But when your healing beam's on, you deplete 6 energy per second. So essentially, you can only have your healing beam up for less than 50% of the time. Assuming you can't, there's talents you can probably talent in it to change this and such. But still, you've got less than 50% uptime on your heal. That's a big change to the Morales. Like, you just heal everything until you run out of mana. So you gotta change things here. Of course, she doesn't have mana anymore, so Safeguard and Grenade are now cooldown based strictly. They don't cost mana anymore. And one interesting thing too is Caduceus Raptor, this is where you healed Morales while healing a target. It's now baseline. So you can heal yourself like right off the bat. You don't have to worry about that whole deficiency with Morales that she can never self-heal early in the game, because now she can do it as long as she's healing another target. The other important thing too is she lost her cleanse. Now that is obviously a fairly important change as well to any sort of competitive play as per usual. What do you think of Morales Mystic?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I don't think she's ever really going to have to go back, because she just heals and she heals herself. And since she doesn't really have to recharge her energy, then, or recharge her mana, then, the energy is just going to recharge over time. The other thing I was thinking was, if Leoric can have a 50% damage reduction for 4 seconds, there better be a talent for Morales that's like at 13 or 16 that says something like, I don't know, second reactor or something that instantly refills all of her energy, and it's on like a cooldown.
Nope.
Just so everyone knows, let's quickly do the math here. So it takes her from 0 energy, 16.6 seconds, or essentially 20 seconds if you talk about a 3-second delay between using her Q2, that to get back up to full. So 20 seconds is fairly significant. That's almost like Hearthing back in a lot of ways, to get back up to full energy. So that's a significant amount of time. You're gonna be sitting there being like, guys, you can still use your Q, but then you're going to deplete it again very quickly, where you're going to be losing out on that. This is going to be an interesting change for Morales, I think. She might have... one interesting thing that you mentioned, if she doesn't have to back as frequently, I can see that being advantageous in those like really prolonged skirmish maps, like a Braxis Holdout, for instance, too, where you can just keep topping people off, you wait it out, top people off, go back in, whereas the other team's healer might have to back, and you can take advantage of that situation of them having to back, and you don't have to. Okay. So, hey, look, guys, we're actually not going crazy overtime like we thought we would. We kept a good pace for the show, and that means that Mystic Shakedown's not getting bumped, and in fact, it's right now.
Mystic, I require service of you. I come to you as a friend, asking you to shake down this situation for me.
So Mystic, shake it down for us, bud.
All right, so the topic that I'm going to be talking about for this week is the different types of advantages. And I'm going to start off with the experience lead advantage. So I'd say this one's the most powerful. When you have an experience lead, you're basically giving your allies like legendary weapons that if you have the experience lead, they're going to use that against the enemy, which if they have less experience and less levels, they're only using like, I don't know, the average iron sword or something. So this is really huge because it actually offsets the skill difference a little bit, where even if the enemy players are much better than your team, then with the level advantage, you can actually still beat them because you have more stats, more talents, and more like weapons at your disposal. So that one's, I'd say, the biggest. The second one is team fight lead. So this happens when your team composition is far superior to theirs in team fighting. So it happens when, you guys clash, and every time you guys clash, your team comes out on top because they have your team has much better AoE, or your team has much better dive, or just like CC potential, where you CC them and then you kill them and you just keep going, you steamroll the enemy team. That happens a lot at lower levels, I believe, because everybody likes to fight. And so that really helps. However, that doesn't help for the third one, which is I like to call map control lead. So map control lead happens when you play more of the macro aspect of it, where you take down their outer structures. So I don't see people talking about this a lot, where if you take down a structure, what are you getting actually? You're taking out the structure on the map, you're getting experience, but not only that, is that you're gaining map control. So that's a base that they can no longer retreat to, where, you destroy the fort, you destroy the well, and if they retreat to there, you can actually still chase them because the fort is not there to protect them anymore. So you get that, and it also removes sight from the map. So because their base is no longer there, there's no structures, there's no sight, so now you can move through there without any, they won't have any knowledge unless there's minions that you have moved through that area. So if you use that, you can have an easier time invading, bush camping, or just moving around the map in general. And that is it.
Cool. And Aegis in chat just wanted to point out, I think I called it Caduceus Reactor was the new baked-in bit for Morales, and it is called Couples Therapy. I think in the notes I was going off of on Reddit, they may have mislabeled that. However, it is where Morales can self-heal based on sending out a healing beam that we're talking about there, no matter what it's called, is what is now going to be baseline as opposed to having to spec into it at 13 or whatever it is. Okay, finally, and a little spoiler alert. We're going to talk now, we're going to cover, and feel free to tune us out now if you don't like spoilers, because we're going to cover something that a lot of places probably won't cover because it's a little bit controversial to cover spoilers. Now, there's been a list that was leaked a few weeks ago. Wasn't given a lot of credit to it, but however, they predicted Sukhov, Garrosh, and now KT in a row sequentially, so it's been given a little bit more credit now. You see these spoiler lists all the time. Most of them are discredited pretty quickly. However, this one has got some clout to it now because, hey, they've got a good track record. Likely, it's legitimate. So if you don't like to get spoiled on potential heroes coming out in the future, please tune out now. We're not going to be talking about anything else except for the outro of the show from here on out. And for those of you that do like to talk about what's coming out in the future, even if it is a bit of a spoiler, guess what? This segment's for you guys. Okay, so we've got our next 5 heroes, likely next 5 heroes, mapped out from us from a spoiler. We're going to talk about them quickly, talk about maybe what we're going to see from them, and we'll get us excited about them. First hero that we're expecting next is Franco Tilden. He's kind of like the Morales, but he's a fire bat here. So it's kind of like the healer or like the Sergeant Hammer, the StarCraft unit here. So, Mystic, you are a StarCraft guy. What do you think of having a fire bat in the game? Is this going to be kind of cool?
I think it'd be kind of cool. From how fire bats are designed in StarCraft 2, they're kind of big, heavy. So they might be either a really tanky assassin or just a warrior in general. And they tend to be short to medium range, and what fire usually entails is a percentage of health damage, usually. So we'll see what Blizzard decides to do with that.
Interesting. And I know a lot of people are probably pretty excited about the next one. A very popular Overwatch hero, Junkrat, is looking to come out after Firebat. Liquid's shaking his head because I know he wants Reinhardt very badly. However, Junkrat is a fan favorite. Unfortunately, Reinhardt is not on this list. Junkrat has some pretty cool mechanics. He's got some things in his kit in Overwatch that'd be interesting they brought into this game, including jump pads and his little like spinny tire that he can throw out and manipulate after he throws it out, and that explodes and does damage, basically like a rotating explosive. So, Liquid, is this going to help satiate the lack of Reinhardt a little bit?
No, not at all. Nope, sucks.
I think like 95% of people disagree with you.
Well, yeah, and that's fine. They can.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I know I'm a very unique personality, so that doesn't bother me at all. I will agree with what Ogre points out in chat, that it's probably going to drop when Junkertown goes live in Overwatch. And it would not surprise me if we saw a... man, now I'm going blank on his name. The hook dude from Overwatch. Roadhog skin for Stitches at the same time.
Potentially. We also have Ana on the list. I'm actually kind of excited about this because I'm assuming she's going to be a support. She's from the Overwatch universe as well. She's a sniper, but she also provides healing support as well. I haven't played Overwatch since Ana was introduced. She's a newer hero in that game. But she does, I'm assuming we're going to be skill shot heals, which, like, think Nova, but you can shoot at your own team and give them heals or somehow proc them as well in a supporty way. I'm kind of interested to see how that works. I'm thinking a very high skill cap support burst healer here. What are you guys thinking from Ana?
Well, the first thing I'm thinking is she could probably shoot while moving, along with Junkrat.
I guess
the second thing is, I noticed that a lot of people are coming up with like, hey, Ana her auto attack could maybe heal or something, heal her allies, and then damage her enemies when you switch targets or whatever, right? I don't think it's going to be that complicated. I think her auto attack is just going to damage enemies, and then her Q or something is just going to be the heal or the damage, where if she hits an enemy, it's going to damage, and if she hits an ally, it's going to heal. So, I don't know. I don't think Blizzard's going to pull out some like insane new mechanic for HOTS that's going to like change the game or anything for this hero.
Yeah, you think Uther's W's are hard to hit? If she had like a snipe burst heal, if you missed that, it'd be very disappointing. Again, it's tough to say exactly how Blizzard's going to go with it. They could go either way. I know I've seen a lot of the talk about the auto attack heals too. And hey, who knows? I guess we'll find out probably in a couple months. The next one on the list is one that I'm kind of interested to see how they go with this, because I think there's a lot of open-endedness of how they could bring the Dark Wanderer into the game. So Diablo 1, the Dark Wanderer was kind of introduced. He was the playable warrior who, when finishing Diablo 1, took the soul stone from, I think, Leoric's kid actually, and plunged it into his own head, essentially having to contain the soul of Diablo within himself. Now, Diablo 2, from what I understand, not having played it, but watched a lot of lore videos, he goes through Diablo 2 as the Dark Wanderer, no longer just the warrior from Diablo 1, and he has this transformation at some point in the game where he essentially becomes Diablo. A lot of like schizophrenic like possession goes along the way there, which seems to me like there'd be a lot of opportunity here for like some sort of transformation, or at least some cool ultimates as well coming out of our Dark Wanderer. Who knows how they can throw him in there. Specialist, this is like the specialist of specialists. It'd be really cool if they got that schizophrenic kind of bit out of it, where you can maybe transform into Diablo, or maybe back, or maybe even just like Dehaka after a certain amount of time, or Varian. Maybe he's like multi-class, like once he gets to 20, he can kind of decide if he wants to stay as the Dark Wanderer or turn into more of like some sort of form of Diablo. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then finally, and I have a funny feeling looking at the time frame here, Alexstrasza is probably going to be a BlizzCon reveal, and I could understand that. She's a pretty popular character in general.
Awesome!
Everyone
I'm
loves...
psyched about that, but it's still not Reinhardt.
Yeah, it's still not Reinhardt. Alexstrasza, who knows how she's going to be come out of this. Likely some sort of support, even though she is a dragon. It's always tough. There's always the discussion about how you bring a dragon into the game because they're just so massive, right? But who knows? Maybe she'll just be in her human form with the dragon portion to it as well. But the life binder from World of Warcraft, Alexstrasza, the red dragon aspect of life, is going to be likely coming into the game probably sometime after BlizzCon, and this is perfect for a BlizzCon reveal. And that is the end of the Heroes spoilers list. Those are likely the next 5 or 6 that we're going to be seeing, and I think there's a pretty solid clout to this list. So I know Liquid's not happy. Mystic, you happy with this list at all? I'm actually pretty happy with it. I look at all of them, I say like, hey, these are all heroes that I can get into, and I think they've been doing pretty well so far.
I look at all of them and like, there's not enough StarCraft heroes on here.
I shouldn't say I'm not happy, right? Like, look, I'm a warrior main. I want to see like, Garrosh still isn't good enough to be a solo warrior. So we still haven't gotten a truly solo warrior since Johanna. I'm just looking for another strong solo warrior. Reinhardt would fill that. The Dark Wanderer might fill that, but I just can't see that being the case. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list. I'm seeing assassins. I'm seeing supports. I'm not seeing much in the ways of warriors, unless I feel like the Firebat, like Mystic saying, might be some sort of like hybrid tanky, like close range assassin type thing. But yeah, I think you might be out of luck, Liquid. Well, hey, maybe...
and Firebat's a freaking StarCraft character, bro.
I know. He said not enough. He didn't say none. He's expecting more than one, I think. But hey, maybe Alexstrasza will be paired with another hero reveal, which will be your tank at BlizzCon, potentially.
Oh, if they revealed Alexstrasza as a support and then Deathwing as a tank.
Oh my god. I would die right then.
That just made Liquid's day. That'd be a kind of a cool cinematic too, right? They come out with there. Either that or just Reinhardt busting out of nowhere into World of Warcraft there with Alexstrasza, right? That'd make your day too.
Right.
Still kind of cool. Interesting to get this little peek into the future of heroes. Okay, and that is going to bring us to the end of the show. So thank you everybody for listening to the Nexus Trolls, a podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, which we stream live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/trollsgg, every week on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Liquid, where can people find you on the interwebs?
So the best place to find me is on Twitter at LiquidGG, LIQIUDGG. I occasionally cast games. I have not done that as often as I'd like, but and I'm also doing a lot of other things. I'm working on Heroes Hype's website. I'm managing a team right now who is looking for 2 players, and lots of other things. But the best bet, follow me on Twitter, and you will see what I'm doing all the time.
Mystic's tweet count is up to 20. He's gotten to a big milestone in this Twitter profile. Still no portrait picture, still default colors. But Mystic, people are looking to follow you on Twitter. Where can they do that?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mystic Shroud. And you send me a message. See if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So,
and if you're looking to follow me, you can follow me at DazHots on Twitter. Now, thanks all of our. I am going to thank all of our patrons over at patreon.com, and especially our newest patron, Fringe Average. If you like the show and you're looking for a way to support us, you can always go over to patreon.com/trollsgg and do so there. We've been working on the t-shirt designs and the glasses we're going to bring to BlizzCon, and they're going to be pretty fantastic. If you are a patron, you're planning on going to BlizzCon, let us know. Get in touch with us. We want to do a bit of a head count to see how many of our patrons will be there. We definitely want to get in touch with you.
Also, subscribe on Twitch or cheer us on Twitch, because that money will also be used that way.
Yes, I got to put that into the show notes, because we are now Twitch affiliates, so you can subscribe, you can cheer, you can do whatnot. We're going to put some custom emojis there. Maybe we'll get some Liquid memes in there, which I think is the way to go now. Tin Hat Liquid, Liquidgasm Liquid. I'd love to see that one get approved, though.
It will. There's Kriegasm is in here.
Oh, perfect. So Liquidgasm may be a thing. Maybe I'll be able to emote that in the future. But anyhow,
there you go.
Feel free to subscribe to us or cheer us on Twitch as well. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find podcasts online. And guys, if you're not the kind of people that want to support us financially, another great way to do it is just on iTunes. Just give us a 5-star review, post a comment there. We'll likely read it on the show too. That's a great place you can always help us out too. You can also visit our website, trolls.gg/thenexustrolls, which we're actually going to be revamping over the next few weeks too. Got a lot of exciting new stuff that we're going to put on there too. We're really going to give the website a facelift that we're pretty excited about. If you head over there, you can watch this and past shows along with past video streams, which can also be found on our YouTube channel. For announcements about the show and general Heroes news, you can follow us on Twitter at @TheNexusTrolls. If you want to hang out with us and the rest of the Trolls community, you can do it in-game by /joining TrollsGG, or you can join our Discord channel as well, which we've opened up to everybody. If you head over to trolls.gg/Discord, it'll redirect you to the invite link. And finally, if you need to get in touch with us, the best way is just by email at thenexustrolls@trolls.gg. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week. Oh, that's Mystic Shakedown. Hold on. Here's the outro. Have a great week.